Hi, and welcome to my channel. So today is Try It Tuesday day. And if you're new here, what I do on Try It Tuesday is about every other week on a Tuesday, I'll go out into the Creative Memories world, whether it's on their blog, their Facebook pages, their website, and even today into their 110 scrapbooking ideas and sketchbook. And I'll find some kind of inspiration out there, that something that inspires me to create what they've presented. And usually I try and create it exactly or as close to exact as what they have suggested. And my whole idea for doing this is to get you motivated to get out there, find inspiration, find something that inspires you. It doesn't have to be in the Creative Memories world, but it could be anywhere. Find something and give it a try. So today I'm going to merge two of my series, the Try It Tuesday, along with my 110 scrapbooking ideas and sketchbook series, and I'm going to select a sketch within this book. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So the sketch that I picked for today is this one right here. It's on page 13 of the sketchbook if you're following along. And if you didn't know this, most of the sketches in this book can be found on the Creative Memories blog. So I'll have that blog listed below in the description so that you can access it. The only downside to finding them on the blog is that they're not all compiled nicely in this little book, but you usually can find it on their blog somewhere. Let me show you on the screen here a better view of the sketch and the inspiration piece that they gave us. So when I first saw this design, I didn't really care for it. I thought, this is not really my style. There's a lot going on in here. I like things that are usually a little bit cleaner and straight lines. So this one with all the pattern paper is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but that's exactly why I decided to use it for Try It Tuesday, because what I've also noticed in my scrapbooking journey is that whenever I do something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone or a little bit out of my box, then I usually end up really enjoying those pages in my album. So I'm hoping that's going to be true with today's as well. Also, normally when I'm working in the 110 scrapbooking ideas book, a part of my twist on that is to convert it into a double page layout. And I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to hold true to my Try It Tuesday, and I'm going to make this only a one-page layout. Okay, let me show you the papers that I'm going to use for today's layout. I'm going to use the Creative Memories Happy Camper Designer Paper Pack. And just a heads up, if you do like this paper pack, it is on what we call last chance. It means that supplies are very limited, and as soon as they sell out, then it'll be no longer available. Okay, so if you like the papers I use today, I would suggest running over to the website, which again, I'll have that linked in my description below also. And so what papers did they use for this layout? Let's take a look. So I do have some scraps because I have cut into this already, but we'll be using some, if not all, of these three papers: the red plaid, the stripes, and the wood grain. We will be using this topography paper. If you can see, it looks like the matte paper. This will be our background sheet for today. And then we will cut into this ferns paper and use that as one of the frames that we see on the inspiration piece. This just happens to also be the back side of the striped paper. Let's put those aside. We'll bring those back in as we need them. Okay, so let's get started. And like I said, we want to use this topography paper as our background piece. Okay, let me bring in my 12-inch trimmer. And the first thing that we want to do is to bring in our wood grain paper, and we want to cut 2 4-inch blocks. Okay, what we want to do is cut these in half, corner to corner, to create triangles. So to do that, I'm going to place this corner on my cutting line and then the bottom corner on the cutting line as well. That way I know it's equally in half. Okay, and then I'm just going to slice it. And there we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to put one in each corner. Remember, you can do this with any paper. It does not have to be the Happy Camper collection, right? I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch showing on the outside of each of those corners. Okay, next thing we want to do is bring in the fern paper. And we want to cut this into an 11 by 11 inch square. So if we're going to cut this into an 11 inch square, I know I need to take an inch off of 2 different sides. Will yield me an 11 inch square. But I know that I'm going to use the paper on the back side later on. So while I'm cutting, I'm going to just cut myself a couple 1/2 inch strips off this first side, just to save me a little bit of time and paper later on. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 of those. There's 1, 2. So I'm at 11 inches now. I'm going to turn the paper and give myself a 1 inch cut. This time I don't need to save the paper, so I can even flip it over so I can see that I'm at 11 inches. I'll put all this aside. So now that we have an 11 inch square, we just wanted to use a 1 inch frame of this paper for our layout. So I'm going to essentially gut out the center. So I'm going to line my corner up over here next to the 1. Bring this down, and now on the Creative Memories trimmer, the first line over here is 1 inch down. So I'm going to take my trimmer, let me move this arm back in. My trimmer has a white guide line on the side of it, so it makes it very easy to gut out paper. I take the white line and I make sure it's on the 1 inch mark, and then I just trim it out, and I come all the way down to the 1 inch mark down here, which is going to be 1 up from the bottom, okay? Because I'm just lining up my paper and looking to see where 1 inch is, and it's the dark line right there. So I'm just going to come down to there and stop. I'm going to turn the paper and do the same thing. Come back up here to the 1 inch mark, down and stop 1 inch before the bottom, and do the other 2 sides. So let me explain this one more time. Down here is where my 11 inches starts, and I'm just coming up 1 inch and stopping on this dark line right there. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Okay. And then I'm stopping by using the white line guide on the side of the trimmer. I'm stopping when I get to the darkest line right there. Okay, so I have 1 more to do. So a lot of times when we're doing this, we're gutting it and we don't have to be so precise. But this time, since this is going to be showing on our layout, we want it to be nice and pretty. And then this will lay right on top of the triangles we've already put down. Okay, and you'll see that we have a little bit of the wood grain popping through. Okay, so now we want to cut our rustic lines paper, and this is where I'll bring back in the 2 that I've already cut, because we want to make a total of 4 1/2 inch cuts from this paper. So now I have 2. Now I only need to do 2 more. Okay, let's go ahead and get those cut out. There we go. That's 3. So we just need 1 more. And now we have 4. Okay, we'll put this aside. We're done with that for now. And I'm going to pull out the arm on my trimmer. So I do want to trim these down to 10 3/4 inches. Okay, because now this is going to be another inside frame, and as you can see, it's getting just smaller and smaller as we go. So I'm going to line this up at 10 3/4. Hold that in place. I'm just going to do 2 at a time to make sure that I'm measuring them correctly. Here's the other 2. 10 3/4. And then essentially what we want to do is lay these out on top of that beautiful fern paper that we've already made a frame out of. Okay, so yep, there we go. It's looking really beautiful now, right? See, I'm liking this. So what we need to do now is we want to miter the corners here so that they're not overlapping, but it looks more like a frame. So that one's going to be cut this way. So I'm going to use the 45-degree angle on my trimmer, and I'm going to line the paper up on the 45-degree mark, take the corner over to the dotted line, make sure that I'm holding it steady in place, and then slice off. And I don't really like that cut. Let me do a little bit more. There we go. And so that gave us that miter corner. And then I'm just going to miter all these corners on all of them. I'm just going to take my time, make sure that I'm going the right direction, and then they should line up. So let me do one more. For this one, I'm turning it upside down to make sure that the corners on my mitered corners line up together. Okay, so again, I'm just aligning it with the 45-degree angle, coming up here to the dotted line, and then I'm going to hold it steady in place and slice. So when I'm done, I turn it around, and then it'll look nice in that corner. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of all the other corners, and I'll put you on fast forward, and I'll be right back. Okay, now you can see once I adhere these down, they'll be nice and straight, and it'll be a nice tight corner there and look almost like a frame in a picture frame. Okay, so I'm going to pause there for a moment because I'm getting ready to make some photo frames for the photos, and I don't want this to be all moving around, so that you can get a really good visual of it. I'm going to step away, get everything adhered down, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and everything so far is adhered down, and we're ready to create our photo mats. So for that, we're going to pull in this, it's called fire red flannel paper. The inspiration calls for 2 photos, and I do like that idea, so I'm going to keep the same. But I know that I like to do a thinner mat around my photos. I'm going to do 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 inch mats for this. Okay, so there's my 4 1/4. Let me pull out the arm, make it 6 1/4. And this was a scrap, so I just want to make sure it's not 6 1/4. So let's do one more. Let's do it this way, 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. Okay, so now I have my 2 mats. Now I don't have my photos for my layout yet because they're actually at the printer, but what I'm gonna do for this is my daughters did some outdoor camping and hiking this summer, so I'm gonna take the photos that they had sent me and use this page layout to document that story of their trip. So they will lay just like they do in the inspiration piece. They'll lay like this, and I'll have them overlapping slightly. And if I decide to do a 2-page spread for this later on and make an additional page, it'll just be having those overflow photos. So I'll have my 2 highlighted photo here and then my overflow here. And if I decide to do that, I will post that on my Facebook groups. So I'll have my Facebook information linked below if you want to jump over and see that. But it probably won't be till at least when I get my photos and see how many outdoor photos I have to work with. Okay, so we are ready to embellish. We're done with our trimmer. I'll put that away. So let me go ahead and bring in the sticker sheets that go along with this collection. So I am going to use these adorable footprint border strip. You'll see they use half of it across here and then part of it down here at the bottom with an embellishment cluster right there. So let's work on that embellishment cluster first, so we know how much of our border strip we're going to use. So I'll bring in my embellishment tray. I put the embellishments from the collection here. Now I have already used the pine trees that they show in the inspiration piece. I've already used those on another project, but they had this beautiful oak tree that's going to work just perfectly for this as well. So I'm going to put the oak tree right there. I'm going to bring the tent in. I'll bring the tent in right there, but I am going to pop that up onto some foam tape. And let's see, the word explore comes from the sticker sheet, so I like that as well. I'm going to lay that on top of that, but I am going to pop up the end of it with some foam tape because it will hang off, and so I want it to be balanced with the tent. And then there's a pine cone tucked in right behind the sign. Okay, so I'll do that as well. Okay, let me put that aside for a moment. And then the footprints. So let's see. I'm going to scoot all this up for a minute because if you see, it just touches the corner. I just want it to touch the corner of the photo frame since I don't have my photo yet. I don't want to have too much there. And then I will just run it across the page all the way to the end over here. And then I'm just going to snip that off and bring the remainder up here. Okay, so let's bring our embellishments back in. We're going to tuck this tree right in there. I won't put any adhesive on the branches of the tree yet until I get my photos and I can tuck them in, but I will adhere the bottom part. Now, in this embellishment cluster up here, let's see, I do have these two die cuts. And again, they'll go like this, but I won't adhere them onto the photo. I'll just adhere them like that. Then we have this red leaf popping out of the top and another pine cone sticker, my sticker sheet, and pull this pine cone off. Tuck that right in behind there. So let me put that aside with the other one. And then the camping sign. Now, what they have in the inspiration piece for the camping sign is this one right here, and they use the Creative Memories stamp set, which is no longer available, and I don't own that. So I'm not going to use this sign, but there's several other signs included in this set, so that's perfect. And I'm going to use this because it says my happy place, and that's exactly my girls when they're out doing their camping and hiking for the summer. And so I'm going to tuck that right in there in place of where it says love to camp. So let me put that aside. Then down here, I'm going to bring in this fresh air and the unplug stickers, just like they have there. So I'm just going to take the stickiness off of the back of half of this with my powder tool and lay that right there. And again, pop another pine cone out the top. We have another pine cone on our sheet, on our sticker sheet. So we'll do something like that. Okay, so let me get the stickiness off of the areas I need to take care of, get everything adhered down, and I'll be back to do some finishing touches. Hold on. Okay, so I'm back again, and I have to say this page is looking ever so cute. And once again, I see when I saw this sketch and I saw all that pattern paper, it just seemed really overwhelming. But now that I'm looking at it here in person, it's not as overwhelming as I had thought. It's actually a very gorgeous layout, and I'm so happy that I gave this a try. So what I did was I adhered everything down. I put these photo placers here so that I can show you my picture will slide in perfectly right here. This one is a little more tricky because I have to kind of bend it a little bit to get it out from here and then slide it from underneath there. So that one's a little more tricky, but it can be done. So I'm just going to put this one back in so we can see it. I left this tree loose so that I could do it. Once I put my pictures in, then I have no problem going back through and putting on a little bit of wet glue there just to hold it in place. I'm ready to bring in the final touches, and this collection came with these cute enamel dots and enamel shapes. You'll see in the inspiration sheet they used a little chevrons. I've already used a couple of those, but I think what I'll do is I'll bring them in to the side of my photo instead. I have 2 left, so that'll be really nice. Let's move it over so we can see. Yep, I'll put them right there. Now let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so one will go right here, and the gray one will go right next to that. There. It's very cute. It matches the little sign. The colors match the little sign next to it. And then I'll take a couple of the circles, and what they did was they took this rust color. It's really a pretty color, and they tucked it right in behind from the pine cone. Let me move the pine cone a little bit. They put one right there on the pine cone. Very cute. And then they took one of the yellow ones, yellow or off-white ones, and then they stuck that right on top of the branch of the pine needle sticking out right there. Okay, well, there we go. I really love this layout. I hope that you do too. I hope that it in some way inspires you to get out there and find something that you like and give it a try. I think I'm going to come back in here one more time. I want something over here as well. They don't have it in the inspiration, but I want to add a little something, and I'm going to bring that rust color in and put it right over here as well. There, I like that. It adds just a little bit more pizzazz down there. I'm probably going to do my journaling right here and ask my girls about the trip and see what I could fit in right there. And if I need to, I will utilize both the places just like they did on the sketch, on the original inspiration. Okay, so there we go. That wraps up our layout for Try It Tuesday today. I hope that that inspired you. And if it did, I would really appreciate it if you would click that like button for me. That really helps to spread my content to other scrapbookers like us who want to see this kind of content. And I thank you for doing that. But I hope that this really inspired you to find things, even if you think they're outside your comfort zone, like I did. I thought this was just way too much going on, but give it a try. Try it. You might like it. And if you don't, then make some minor adjustments to fit your style and get that story told and into your albums. Okay? Well, that's it for today. Take care and bye-bye.